The Nintendo Switch is undoubtedly one of the greatest video game consoles of our time. It's an innovative hybrid, it's intuitive to use, it's affordable, and the lineup of games is easily the best Nintendo's ever offered on one system. But there's one issue that's plagued the Switch for all 8 years of its tremendous run, and that is... ew. The Joy-Cons. The point of the Switch is that it's a jack of all trades. You can use it on the go, you can set it up on your desk, or you can dock it to use it with a TV. For that, you really can't have the classic style of controllers. So Nintendo, in their infinite wisdom, brought out the Wii Remote to its own son. The idea of detachable controllers is really interesting, and I don't think the Switch would be nearly successful as it is without them. These little controllers need to adapt to each type of use, which they do well, but that means the Joy-Cons by themselves kinda suck. The Joy-Cons need to fit so much tech into these tiny little slabs, which means they're not hugely comfortable, especially for longer play sessions. They've got these flimsy thumbsticks and a weird D-pad because it has to act as proper buttons too. And don't get me started on the shoulder buttons. Nintendo clearly had to experience using those shoulder buttons too many times during development because they felt so bad they bundled in shoulder straps for free. But all of that I could excuse if I didn't have to replace them every year. Because those joysticks are so dang tiny, they wear down really easily, and the dreaded stick drift starts to occur. So why does the Joy-Con drift happen? Well, it's simple. Nintendo hates us. Okay, maybe not, but the design of the thumbsticks certainly suggests they're not our biggest fans. For those of you who somehow aren't intimately familiar with the inner workings of Nintendo controllers, let me explain what's happening here. Basically, there's a sort of wiper mechanism called the potentiometer that reads the movement of the controller stick. As the components wear down with use and time, the wiper starts to give out inaccurate readings, resulting in your lovely little controller going off on its own adventures. Your Joy-Con beginning to drift feels like having a surprise party, but you knew it was going to happen, and instead of getting a cake, you get shot. Stick drift is by far the most widespread issue with the Switch, and maybe one of the most infamous out of any console out there, and Nintendo has not done a whole lot about it. For the first few years, Nintendo's strategy was to pretty much ignore the issue and hope it went away, but as more and more people started reporting it, they did start offering free repairs for those willing to send off their Joy-Cons for a few weeks. They'll even pay for shipping, which is great, but they never actually fixed the issue in the first place, and offering repairs doesn't really make up for knowingly selling a faulty product. Nintendo is such an intuitive company. These are the same people who made smart cardboard a year after the Switch launched, but in all of the years of the Switch's absolute dominance over the market, they have still failed to fix the stick drift. I just don't get it. So what can you do about Joy-Con drift? Well, you could try cleaning it. Just take some compressed air, spray it onto the stick, and pray to Miyamoto that it works. But that's like trying to fix a flat tire by just adding air. Sure, it'll help for a bit, but that nail is still in there, ready to make you be late to whatever important thing you've got going on. Or you could go the DIY route and replace the joystick yourself, which is, totally easy. Just you, a screwdriver, and the knowledge that one wrong move will turn your Joy-Con into a Joy-Can't. But let's just face it, most people would just buy new Joy-Cons. Because if Nintendo has taught us anything, it's that throwing money at a problem is the fastest way to fix it. Those Joy-Cons aren't exactly cheap either. A Duo goes for $70 a pop. You can still buy an individual Joy-Con, but it's only a matter of time before the other one starts acting up. And then it happens again! That's the beauty of Joy-Cons. They're like a recurring subscription to depression. Of course, there is another option in the Switch Pro controller. This is a pretty solid controller. It's very reminiscent of the Xbox controller, but with, in my opinion, a much more comfortable hold and a better layout. The Pro controller is really the only way to play Switch games unless you absolutely hate yourself, but when you're on the go, it's hardly an option. It's also expensive, and guess what? It also has stick drift issues. Granted, they're not a near guarantee like the Joy-Cons, but they can still happen. There are also those NES Online controllers which also snap onto the console, and I guess those don't even have a stick to start drifting. Or alternatively, if you haven't grown up since 2004, you can always use the GameCube controller. With the Nintendo Switch 2 on the horizon, a big question is if it will have the same issue. Those thumbsticks do look suspiciously familiar after all, but they are reportedly manufactured differently with magnets instead of physical parts, and with the Joy-Cons being bigger anyway, there should be less wear and tear issues. Don't get me wrong, I love the Nintendo Switch. I got my Switch in 2018. It's an original model and it's my baby. I've wasted away thousands of hours, particularly during the Great Redacted incident of 2020, just playing games on it. In fact, some of my favorite games of all time are only or primarily available on the Switch. But with its successor finally becoming real after all of these years, and with this being the first time I'll really have the disposable income to pick up a new system on launch, the issue that plagues pretty much every Switch owner for years does come to mind. I personally have had to replace my Joy-Cons twice before, and I got lucky. My most recent pair I bought in late 2023, and they're holding up pretty well so far. In general, the Joy-Cons are already far too expensive, with Nintendo finally discovering the color wheel exists and making hundreds of different combo variants and limited editions and whatnot. These things could really do with being like half the price already, and basically being forced to replace your pair every so often isn't great. The Wii Remote Plus launched in 2009 for $80, so maybe Nintendo has always been gouging our wallets, but one can only dream that the Switch 2 will have more reliable, affordable controllers. Or maybe not. I'm an optimist, not a fucking idiot. It definitely seems like they're going in a good direction with the Switch 2. I mean, we all remember the Wii U being revealed and everybody collectively choosing to ignore its existence, and compared to the issues that console had, it's hard to bitch about the Switch for too long. And hey, if all else fails, there's always cardboard, at least Labo doesn't drift.
It's fucking Mario Kart again! I hope that came out on camera.